Hi, my name is Trey. I'm the ministry intern for Trinity Lutheran this summer. I'm really excited to be a part of this community and to help you guys grow in whatever way whatever that means. I'm going to be a senior here at Augustana College, and I'm really excited to be a part of this community.
So Trey, volumes have been written, and there is an entire industry dedicated to trying to figure out what millennials and Gen Z people are thinking about spiritual stuff and faith and the church and all that. What is it about you that has you interested in this stuff?
That's an interesting question. We've talked before about how people in my generation, I don't think are any less spiritual than people in other generations, but obviously not a lot of people my age are seeking the same vocation that I am. I think that really begins with my very first job. I worked in a church, and I never really would have thought that this is what I was going to pursue. Everyone in my family, all my role models are actually in the medical field and in the sciences. So this is kind of a divergent path than what they were going on. But working in a church and spending a lot of time in prayer, I started to feel something pulling at my heart, and that clearly is God. And so that is where I get my direction from in my life, is from God, and that's how I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, so to speak.
A lot of people in our Lutheran church or sort of mainline churches think that if we just do what we're doing better, or just come up with the right program, young people will come back to church as it is. What's your thought on that? Or what would you like to say to those people on that thinking?
I understand that line of thinking, and I think it's really tempting even for me when I think about what people in my generation are looking for in a spiritual life, in a spiritual community. But I think we need to rethink about what it means to go to church, what church looks like, because clearly my generation sees things differently. I mean, we were raised on social media and on technology, and so we're not as bound to a physical building as maybe other generations are. And we're also, because we're so connected, we see so many different points of view. And so it's hard, I think, for my generation to quote unquote pick one church to go to, because we can see so many different perspectives and so many points of view that maybe some other people might not have seen growing up. So it's difficult, and it's a hard question, but I'm not sure if the right program is maybe what we need to get people inside, or to get my generation to sit in a pew. I don't know if that's what church for us looks like.
So, Trey, if you had a message for, say, a church council or a worship and music committee, or just the church leadership in general, what would you say is one thing that they should keep doing? One thing that the church is doing really well?
So I think one thing that I would say to a church council or church leadership that's doing well is I think about the foundation that we have built over years and years of tradition and generations, and that's a good thing. I think my generation, or when we think about how we need to reach out to people my age, it's not necessarily we need to change everything, or we need to tear everything down and build it back up. No, we come from a great, strong tradition, and I think the Christian tradition is built on a tradition of hospitality, of love, of care, of a caring community, and that's something that we need to keep doing and keep doing better.
What is something that you would say to the church as it is right now? We should just stop doing this, right? It's just not working. We should just stop.
I think for me, a big part of that is we need to look at the gospel. We have to look at what Jesus is doing. Clearly, we're doing things that we don't quite see. I mean, I don't think Jesus was as much concerned about, oh, we need to bring more and more people in. I think Jesus was more concerned about love and care and helping the community. And I think as a church, we need to focus a lot more on that instead of just saying, oh, we need more people sitting in the pews. We need more people giving. We need more of this. I think we need to just go back to, look, how can we love? How can we apply God's love to our lives? And how can we show everybody what God has to offer through Jesus?
You are at the very beginning of thinking about what God is calling you to in terms of ministry in the future. Can you, if you could look into your crystal ball, in 20 years, what would you like to see the church become to serve God's kingdom?
I guess I don't put too much. You need to have a vision for the future, but I try not to overload myself because, I mean, right, Jesus tells us, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. But that being said, yeah, there is a hope that we can all have for the church, for God's kingdom. I think that is one built on justice and mercy. Clearly, we see a lot of things that we need to do better as a country or as a community in the world. And I think that starts with the gospel, and that starts with the church. I mean, we can just look at what Jesus has shown us about fostering a community or caring for creation, and all of that begins with the church. So I'd love to see the church really take ownership of those things and lead the world in what it has to offer, and showing not just each other, but showing the world itself the love that God has to offer.
When I started at seminary, the notion of a pastor having tattoos was shocking. How will you explain yours to people who ask?
You know, when I first got a tattoo, that was something that was said to me, because when I got my first tattoo, I was feeling this call, and I was starting to articulate that I was feeling a call from God, and people were like, if you're going to be a pastor, how can you have tattoos? Well, I think part of the beauty of being a pastor, and one of the greatest things that Jesus taught us, is that it's okay to shake things up every once in a while and kind of disrupt the status quo. So I'm happy to do that with my tattoos, but I'm also someone that I like to tell stories, and I like to show that, and part of my stories are in my tattoos. I mean, this is a palm frond we see when Jesus entered Jerusalem, what we call Palm Sunday. They were laying palms at his feet, giving praise to God, and that to me is huge for me. When I open my arms in prayer or praise, that I'm laying palms out every time. My leg tattoo, right, it's a skull. It's surrounded by Easter lilies. The place where Jesus was crucified in Aramaic was called Golgotha, the place of the skull. It's surrounded by Easter lilies, which is a reminder of the resurrection that we can all see and get hope from. And then this is part of my personal story of working at a Bible camp, showing the love that God has to offer to little kids, this door was the door of my cabin, and I can think about that every time. So that God calls me to share His message with others. So part of my tattoos are part of my story.
My name, I wait upon your call, shed all my shame, and pick me up when I fall. I am your servant. Give me the strength all you've done, to tell the world just how you gave your son. I am your servant. Where do I go from here? Wherever you say, teach me to hear your will. Whenever I pray, I am your servant. Where do I go from here? Wherever you say, teach me to hear your will. Whenever I pray, I am your servant. You've changed my life in all that I do and say. Now show the world a light that will show your way. I am your servant. I am your servant.